Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So recently I was able to catch the first season of the hit Showtime series Yellowjackets. If you're unfamiliar with the series, it follows the story of a varsity girls soccer team on their way to nationals when their plane crashes in the year 1996. The story simultaneously jumps between two time periods, 1996 when the initial crash takes place, as well as 2021, 25 years later, and follows the remaining survivors in their adult years. Just from my basic description of the show, if it sounds like if Lost and Lord of the Flies had a baby, you're exactly right. Even in my research of the show, I found that its creator had come up with a concept when they found out a Lord of the Flies remake series was in development, and wondered how a similar scenario would play out with a group of girls, which is not a bad idea if you ask me. I will say the show does enough to separate itself from both of the projects I mentioned, even if there are a lot of thematic and symbolic similarities. But throughout watching the first season, it was clear early on what the topic of this video would be. With that being said, let's get right into it. Throughout the 10-episode first season of Yellowjackets, the show tackles a lot of themes: religion, womanhood, but also survival. However, it's not the kind of survival you're thinking of. Despite the show having elements of survival horror, with our main characters trapped in the woods together, they're encountering your typical forest problems, dehydration, starvation, wild animals, injuries. However, the show focuses a lot less on physical survival than you'd think. Instead, the show's main focus of survival is surviving your past, surviving your trauma. The dual narrative bouncing back and forth between 1996 and 2021 may take some of the suspense and thrills out of watching a group of characters try and survive, but what it does allow the story to do is allow us as the audience to see what these characters are like 25 years after suffering a horrific tragedy. But even before cutting to the present-day storyline, the show makes an effort to show that this is not a show about a girls' soccer team surviving in the forest after their plane crashes. This is a show about characters, nay, about people surviving their past. In the 1996 storyline, as the girls try to acclimate and understand the situation they are in, we are treated to flashbacks of several of the girls, showing events that happened to them when they were younger. Thaisa has haunting and vivid memories of being by her grandmother's side as she was about to pass, haunting imagery of her grandmother screaming at a man with no eyes standing in the corner. This leads to her seeing the eyeless man while stranded in the wilderness. Natalie has painful memories of indirectly being responsible for the death of her father. Loralee is shown nearly drowning but being saved by what she perceives as God. We see a child Lottie irrationally scream in terror in the backseat of her parents' car, distracting them just long enough to save them from a fatal car crash. Between the flashbacks of the characters' childhoods and the present-day story of the surviving characters dealing with what occurred while they were lost, the show makes a clear effort to establish trauma as the main theme of the show. Now, me saying this is no revelation. I think it's clear to anyone who watches Yellowjackets that trauma is one of, if not the most vital aspects of the series. It goes out of its way to not only demonstrate the surviving characters living with what happened, but even before the plane crashes, our characters have haunting and traumatizing pasts. But the focus of this video isn't just pointing out the obvious themes of the show. Instead, the point of this essay is to demonstrate what I think the show is trying to say. Now, I may be wrong, everyone has their own interpretation of stories, but this is just what I've gathered. I believe the island, or forest the characters are stranded on, is meant to be a metaphor for compartmentalizing your trauma. The show spends a lot of time on the 2021 storyline, just as much if not more than the 1996 story of the girls surviving. In 2021, we see Misty, Shauna, Thaisa, and Natalie dealing with the events that occurred to them 25 years earlier. It's clear none of the characters have really talked about what happened to them, with loved ones or with a therapist or psychiatrist. Their bodies are in 2021, but their minds can't escape 1996. While I've only seen the first season of the show, we obviously know Shauna, Misty, Thaisa, and Natalie are still alive. Each of them fucked up in their own way from never truly grieving properly, never truly letting their trauma out. For so many people, it's just easier to leave their trauma in the past, to store it away somewhere in your brain that even you can't find it. These characters aren't fucked up because they lived through a traumatic event. These characters are not okay because they stored their trauma away in a forest 25 years in the past. When we talk about compartmentalizing, the idea is to divide and section off memories, thoughts, dreams, nightmares, desires. We find a place deep-rooted in the back of our mind, placing the thought in its own room. What we failed to realize, what Shauna, Thaisa, Natalie, and Misty failed to realize, is that when you compartmentalize your trauma, you're not storing a solid object in that room. You're sticking a hose through the door, turning it on, and walking away. Every second that our characters left their trauma in that forest was another second that room filled up with water, and even the largest of rooms will overflow eventually. The story, the characters, and the forest inside the world of Yellowjackets simply reflects the real-world concept of compartmentalizing our own trauma. How many of us have deep-rooted memories that we've forgotten about on purpose? How many of us left the hose on in a small room until it overflowed? How many of us left our trauma on an island? Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys liked it. I'm still deciding on when and if I want to catch up on the second season of Yellowjackets. I may wait till the whole season is out and then watch it, and who knows, maybe there's another Yellowjackets video on the horizon. As always though, guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click that little bell notification so that you guys do know when I post new videos. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video.